What's up, I'm Kyle, and this is episode 31 of the Vervet Forest. On this episode, Conjo joins Merlin and Timothy in the D&D intro enclosure. Trisha and Jeffrey head over to Disneyland, where they're joined by a new baby girl named Crystal. We get an update on Pyewacket, Benjamin, and Dylan in the Gizmo intro enclosure. We also have a new baby monkey named Coby who arrives. Maggie joins the Engeltjie troop in the main enclosure. And the Saav babies Norah and Shemesh get out a little too early into the troop with their foster moms. Konjo moved to the D&D intro enclosure where he joined Merlin and Timothy. The plan was to put him in the airlock and open the doors from the outside so that we didn't have to let foster mom Phyllis out of the intro enclosure in order to introduce Konjo. But things quickly descended into chaos.
Well, we can get him in there. It just may take us quite a while to close the door afterwards. Okay. So, if you put him just in there.
Close to the door, or?
No, we need to open it a bit, so actually maybe a bit further back would be good.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Hey, sorry.
Oh, God. So what we're going to do is do the airlock way. So we're going to put him in the cage here. Just don't...
One.
If you just unwire it but don't open it, so that he thinks it's still closed, just to leave it like that. And then if you come out, unfortunately that door is really stiff to bolt, because otherwise it's much easier. I'm going to make sure this is wired first, in case Elise pops out.
Good luck.
Yeah, but this is the more difficult bit because this is really stiff. So I'm going to open the airlock door and let her come in. But first of all, we'll just open this box with some kind of stick. Oh, that's a big live stick. Okay.
I wasn't quite sure.
Weight will be fine actually. Yeah, you can open that. Can you grab that stick?
I don't know how successful this is going to be if you can see me.
When she comes in, he's probably going to be terrified.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens from there. So what we're going to do is just...
I know, Baba, it's okay.
Let her into section. You can help me, please. Thank you. The babies are going to come in. We don't know where he's going to go. If he's going to just watch, he doesn't come out the top there. So there's quite a wide gap, and just keep the bandits away as well, because the bandits are coming now. So just keep the stick there.
Where's the brake running? Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Can we use your umbrella? Can we use your umbrella, Renee? Just quick, work.
Don't want to get the umbrella. So let's start to start and eat grass. That's a big stick. That's a bit big. It's the biggest stick I've seen. Nelly, I'm going to stay back here to watch him, but give me a shout if he gets stuck.
Well, sorry, swap so he goes that way towards you.
Yeah, we can try.
That'll be enough.
Should be.
Come to
Nelly, I'll just be right back because I got chicken by there. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. You're a good boy. Hey. Hey. That's it.
Okay. We had some problems with the bandits in the team with the babies.
After everything calmed down, Conjo was still a mess. He's an ex-pet and he clings to people, so this was kind of guaranteed. While Merlin hugged Phyllis tight, Timothy approached Conjo to see if he could calm him down.
Anybody calming?
Go on, Tim Tam.
Then Merlin took a turn following Conjo around.
Angus's return home was completely uneventful and actually kind of boring.
Hazel, another foster mom, also joined the babies in the enclosure.
Hazel.
Eventually, both Merlin and Timothy got Conjo to relax, and they tried to give him some hugs and play with him a little bit.
Calm down, very good. I don't like you being there, little monkey. This is not a playpen today.
Konjo wouldn't really let any of the adult females near him for a while, but a young juvenile named Cheyenne got pretty close to him, and he was all right with her.
Cheyenne's trying to play the old, oh, I didn't see you there.
Timothy.
Konjo, he's bottom right there.
Getting a big old hug.
I don't know what with a stick.
In the end, it didn't take too long before Konjo calmed down and ate some food with the other monkeys and started to play around.
Oh, you guys.
That was great.
He even tested his limits with Phyllis, and she finally groomed him.
Finally. It's nice, isn't it? To be Konjo. Looks like you found a mom.
Even though the day got off to a rough start, it ended very successfully, and all of the monkeys seemed very pleased.
He was at the beginning. Yeah.
I missed that dramatic part.
Trisha has recovered from her thrush with no problems, and she and Jeffrey were moved over to Disneyland, where they were joined by an ex-pet orphan baby vervet monkey named Crystal. Crystal is fluffy and adorable and enamored with Jeffrey, which seems to be putting a bit of strain on Jeffrey and Trisha's love affair. You'll often see Crystal and Jeffrey chasing each other around Disneyland, and Trisha trying to get in on the fun. All three of these babies are great at the feeding cage, so it's only going to be a short amount of time before we send them over to their new foster troops. Over in the Gizmo intro enclosure, Pyewacket is doing just fine. It's easy to see that Pyewacket has become very comfortable around the foster moms. Benjamin and Dylan have also grown a ton in size, looks, and confidence. Everyone is clearly calm and satisfied. Maggie, the little road trip orphan, finally had her big day. When it was time to let Maggie out, she followed Jessie right out the door with no problems.
She's off. Come. Go on, Bianca. Right. Benny.
But the moment Maggie got outside, she froze with confusion.
She's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, like, wait a second.
Bianca. She's like, I don't quite know what to make of it.
There's so much forest.
Like, it's just endless. Right, come on. Right, they're out. She's like a little meerkat.
Yeah, she's so confused.
I just don't understand. Like, where am I? I didn't see the world that was beyond the door.
Who's following it up? Who's following
Yeah.
Bianca's following me?
No, Bianca's here. It was Oprah.
Maggie soon found herself climbing in the highest branches of the tallest trees, being welcomed by the rest of the troop with open arms. At one point, she even thought about going into the feeding cage all on her own, which is a huge success on a first day.
She's interesting. She's interesting. Well, her and
Hannah?
Hannah look very similar.
Yeah.
Theo just looks like a big, scruffy rat at the moment.
Feels so small. Sorry.
So I didn't realise I had an additional shadow.
Yeah. Where's my... She just sat on her head. Just so confused by this baby.
Everyone in the troop, including Maggie, was very pleased, and even Elliot and Stick came by to hang around.
It's nice that Stick's using the hip grip his legs.
Yeah.
The hip grip. And Maggie is flipping between Bizu and Jessie at the moment.
I'm just
And with every success has to come a little bit of chaos. In the early hours of the morning, we received an urgent text on the group chat. Staff and volunteers quickly went to work.
Are they both on their...
Norah and Shemesh and their foster moms Holly and Priya had gotten out of the Saav troop intro enclosure and gone into the main enclosure. They were both a few weeks early. It seems that one of the adult females, probably Acorn, the alpha female of the troop, dug a hole underneath the fence from the main troop into the intro enclosure, and the foster moms squeezed through that hole with the babies on their bellies. Unlike Zabana and Scro Troop, who also went out early, this was way too early for the babies to stay in the troop, and tensions in the troop were pretty high. While Kleta fixed the intro enclosure, Innocent quickly placed some emergency feeding cages inside the troop.
Okay. Let me put this
Megan and Tori then prepped the old intro enclosure and a new intro enclosure to try to trap the moms and their babies. It wasn't long after everything was set up that Holly and Priya came inside with Norah and Shemesh all on their own. Acorn decided to join them.
You can let it go. Let it go. Let it go. All right, now one of us gets to stand here and hold these because. I'll do it. All right, going outside, Baba. Do you want to throw some food into the troop so that we can get Acorn out? Yay! Just out in the troop. Just kind of spread it out so that they don't have fights, please. Because we want the big mama Acorn to get out.
Instead, all three females made a mad dash for the door and started to pry it open.
Wait, Wait, Ashna, don't do that anymore.
Fortunately, Priya and Shemesh couldn't make it out. So the doors have ropes tied to them. One rope opens the door, one rope helps keep the door closed, but the rope that helped keep the door closed was tied to the bottom of the door. So there was no way to keep pressure on the top of the door. So no matter how hard Tori was pulling on the ropes, the monkeys were able to pry the top of the door open and sneak right outside.
So how are we going to work now?
So we're going to put 2 sets of closing wire so we can hold it tighter. Because we had both, see, you watch what she does now. She can get it open at the top. So we need another closing wire to hold it at the top.
I'll pass it through to you.
Innocent then went inside the enclosure and tied another rope to keep the door tightly closed.
Did you get all that on film? Well, we've already gotten them both in. It's just a matter of...
No, he means in the crush cage, I think.
Yeah.
But when you put the seeds in that cage, they will not go there?
We're going to try that as well.
Yeah.
Both cages.
Yeah.
All the cages.
But we got them in here right now, so we're going to work with what we got.
Because I thought Leka must bring the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So yeah, we need to get her back
I don't
home.
think you'll go inside.
You're bringing all of this negative attitude right now. Where is the positivity? Where is the good job?
Yeah, this
Well
is a
done,
good job
thanks.
because they caught the monkey, but I don't think they will go in the cage.
Innocent and Kleta then put a crush cage inside the intro enclosure.
It's just for the opening.
So where are you going to hide when you're typing?
Food was placed inside a bucket in the crush cage, and we stood back and waited for Priya to go inside with Shemesh.
Listen, thank you for your help. For your assistance. You're a wonderful person.
It only took a couple of seconds for Priya to become interested in the food. At around the same time, Bernie had great success and was able to get Holly and Norah back into their old intro enclosure. Moments later, Priya and Shemesh wandered into the crush cage.
We got the other baby! Bam!
Nom 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 nom. Eating the banana.
Eating the banana.
And we will need to wire this door as well before we eat.
Did you enjoy your little journey out with your friends?
Nom 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 nom.
Innocent and Kleta then transported Priya and Shemesh back to the old intro enclosure with Holly and Norah, and all was well once again.
Presents for coming home. Kyle, can you edit out all the screaming and swearing and not professional and that we just did?
Or the part we just threw that in the monkey's face.
Nah, leave that. That's fine.
All right, go team.
And to top off all of this craziness, we received a brand new ex-pet orphan baby vervet monkey. His name is Coby. His owners brought him to us once they realized that they could no longer care for him, and they brought him with a bag of toys, which once again, we have no use for.
Little man. Yeah. There you go.
Who's that monkey? Who is that? Huh? Do you see him? Yeah.
And that's it for this episode of the Vervet Forest. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to check out our Instagram, which is @Vervet_Forest. And also, if you want to donate to the Vervet Monkey Foundation, it's paypal.me/VERVET. There are also a ton of useful links in the description below the video. All of those are things from how to volunteer at the Vervet Monkey Foundation, books that I recommend on vervet behavior, how to buy photos of the monkeys, things that like the gear that I use to make these episodes, all sorts of stuff. Check it out, there's a ton of info down there. On Saturday, I will be releasing the question and answer episode, which is all the questions that you guys asked about the monkeys and the foundation and me and the work we do here and all that cool stuff. And then on Monday, check back because I will be releasing the second entry of the Bandit Diaries. All right, see y'all later.